Hey guys, Shalana here. Welcome to the Binge Zone. On today's video, we're talking about Watchmen Season 1, Episode 7. And after Episode 6, there's a lot of revelations that happened in that last episode that was really shattering to the whole Watchmen mythology. A lot of things we've learned that they've added to the history of Watchmen. And it was arguably one of the best episodes of TV this year, just dealing with the greater social construct of everything and really shows why Watchmen mattered. Now, this episode expounds upon what we've learned last week. Now, last week's episode 6, we focused mainly on the Hooded Justice, William Reeves' backstory. Now, with this episode, we're learning more about Angela Abar's backstory, her childhood, and just what happened. And in this episode, Angela's still coming off of the nostalgia, so some memories and some of her grandfather's memories are interchanging with one another. But it's at this time that we learned what happened to her parents. And it seems that a lot has happened in the Watchmen universe. Because if we remember in the comics, and if you guys didn't read the comic, if you guys saw the movie, we saw that during the Vietnam War, Dr. Manhattan pretty much single-handedly won that war. And with that being said, we see that the United States colonized or statified or colonized Vietnam and turned it to the 51st state. And that's why Angela is from there. And we get to know more about her backstory. We see who her parents are and what happened to her parents. And her life has been nothing but tragedy to her childhood. Because in this episode, we see that her parents were blown up by terrorists who were pro-Vietnam independence. Because, of course, it was its own independent nation. The U.S. came. We had a war. In real life, we lost the war, or we didn't win. So, therefore, it was kind of like, you know what? War is over. But in the Watchmen universe, Dr. Manhattan came in and just smacked everything apart, and we won that war in the Watchmen universe. And there's a lot of pro-Vietnamese people who are out there committing acts of like terrorism and treason against the United States because they want their independence. And in one of those acts, there was a bomb that exploded, killing Angela's parents. And Angela went from having two loving parents to being in an orphanage where she's pretty much treated like Annie or treated like shit, right? Until her grandmother shows up, and her grandmother tries to take her in and take her back to Tulsa, Oklahoma to give her a loving family. The grandmother's the same woman who left Hooded Justice for what he was doing. And it's very important to note that she doesn't hate costume superheroes. We see that in this flashback, the grandmother had no qualms with costume superheroes. However, Angela's father hated them, and he felt that there was something wrong with them. And that's because we saw in the flashback in episode 6 that the Hooded Justice, William Reeves, kind of scared the living daylights out of his kid, like scared the shit out of him. And ever since then, I guess he hated superheroes and tried to pass that down to Angela. However, the grandmother, his mother, who was with Hooded Justice, doesn't have that kind of relationship with mass crime fighters. So I found that a very interesting dynamic. Like, the kid was clearly traumatized. It goes to show the stuff you do to your kids really stick with them throughout their entire lives. But just when things seem to be getting better with Angela, her grandmother dies. And we see that her childhood has been pretty tragic. Her parents blown up in front of her. Her grandmother caught a heart attack right in front of her. So like, we could see why she is the way she is. But on top of that, we got some major revelations as to the whole world of Watchmen and what's been going on. One, we learn of Lady True's true plans, and that the fact that her daughter, Bian, is not her daughter, but a clone of her mother who she's giving nostalgia to in order to get her mother to become her mother. That's like 7th level of pre-planning. So her mother was dying, she cloned her mother, and now she's giving her mother her own memories. Because, you know, the person, like your DNA, your appearance, clones don't make you who you are. It's your life experiences that always make who you are, and Bian needs that life experience. So she's giving her mother her own kind of memories to create her mother so they can revel in her greatest achievement, which I have to say, Lady True's plan, if I had her money, I'd probably do the same thing too. If my parents were dying, I'd clone them and want to essentially have them live forever in a sense, which I find very interesting. But we see her plan is to save Dr. Manhattan. And throughout this whole season, we've been talking about Dr. Manhattan, and we found out that Cyclops from episode 6, the one that William Reeves was trying to stop, is still active, and they are the 7th Cavalry, and that the senator who seems to was the good guy after all is actually the mastermind behind the 7th Cavalry. And he tried to act like it was it was kind of like a inside job, but in reality, he's part of Cyclops and he wants to become Dr. Manhattan. I repeat, he's trying to become Dr. Manhattan. Could you imagine a crazed white supremacist as Dr. Manhattan? Whew. And the way he's going to do that is he's going to kill the real Dr. Manhattan and become Dr. Manhattan. And how would he do that, right? Dr. Manhattan was quote unquote on Mars this entire time, right? But no, this episode threw another shoe at us, right? Dr. Manhattan has been living in Tulsa this entire time. And Cal, the husband, the beta husband of Angela, throughout this entire season is secretly Dr. Manhattan. And he was living amongst humans, I guess trying to get that connection. Because we know in Watchmen and towards the end of Watchmen, the original movie / comic book series, Dr. Manhattan grew bored of humanity and left. But we also know that Dr. Manhattan can see the future and the past and everything at the same time. And he fell in love with Angela Abar via his time dilation, warpation, whatever bullshit that he does, right? So he's known how he's going to die, who he's going to love him. And it's crazy that Cal this entire time has been Dr. Manhattan. Because online, you've getting nothing but slander from Cal, calling him a beta. Angela runs a relationship. They don't have their own kids. That's a weird dynamic. He doesn't lie. He's peculiar. He's strange. But the fact that he was Dr. Manhattan, Angela knew this entire time. And it's just going like, whoa, like what is going on here? This really throws a wrench into everything we thought that was going on with Watchmen, especially in the fact that the comic books, the sequel to Watchmen, Doomsday Clock, is happening. And it's like two different storylines and two different sequels, because Doomsday Clock, the comic book, takes place in the DC comic universe and Watchmen takes place in another alternate timeline. So now there are two Dr. Manhattans throughout this DC multiverse, and they're planning on killing him to become him, and he wanted to live his life as a human. I guess because despite having all this power, Dr. Manhattan probably went to Mars, felt empty inside, and decided that he had to come back. And Lady True and William Reeves knew of this. So that goes to show just how much does the Hooded Justice know, because we didn't see him at all this episode, but he knew Dr. Manhattan was in Tulsa. And they seem to suspect that it's been Cal this entire time, because Cal has amnesia, and Lady True said something very important. In any case of amnesia, she knew no one has total amnesia, and Cal had that. So she's suspicious. And when she tells Angela about it, Angela has a stone cold face. Like, she doesn't give any tales that she knew, but she knew this entire time. Her and Dr. Manhattan are in love, and in order to live a peaceful life, Dr. Manhattan became Cal, and they moved to Tulsa where they could live a quieter life until, all this shenanigans started happening with the 7th Cavalry and Joe Keane Jr. And another thing that's very important is the fact that the former police chief, his wife, was in on this, and she kidnapped Lori, aka Silk Spectre, aka FBI agent Blake, which is gone to show that this entirety of the season, we thought we knew these characters, but a lot of these characters are just doing their own shit that we had no idea of. And that's not to even talk about Adrian Veidt, who's on trial by all the clones for trying to escape. So I wonder, does he know Dr. Manhattan is on Earth, and therefore Manhattan banished him to the moon projector thing that he's living in order not to get exposed? Because he sent the tape out to 7th Cavalry, and they're the ones using their tape to justify their actions. So there's a lot of questions being asked, but the fact that Dr. Manhattan is on Earth, but he doesn't want people to know, and he wants to live a normal life, just shows that despite having all this power, he's more human than we thought, because he just wants to be happy with someone he loves. And he had that until they decide that the white supremacists feel as though they're entitled to the ultimate power in the universe. And if they get their hands on it, there's a lot. With just a few episodes left, I think there's 8, 9, 10, there's 3 episodes left. It's about to get real hectic. And Dr. Manhattan being thrown into this first season, I did not expect that to happen. I did not expect Dr. Manhattan, all his power, to be here in the first season. Jesus, there's a lot of places this show can go. I'm kind of skeptical about having an all-powerful character being introduced with 3 episodes left. Because remember, in this universe, only Dr. Manhattan has powers. Nobody else does. So how is he going to actually exist and have any sort of conflict if he can just blow people up like he did Rorschach, right? at the snap of a finger just end this. He single-handedly pretty much took over Vietnam. So I'm interested to see how a bunch of guys in Rorschach masks and shotguns are going to stop Dr. Manhattan and kill Angela. But that's for next week's episode. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions about this week's episode, let me know in the comment section below. If your mind was fucking blown like mine was, let me know in the comment section below, guys. And if you liked the video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. And until next time, binge on.